Robert, what's going on?
What's up? You could hear me then, right?
Perfect. How are you?
Oh shit! Hold on.
You got it.
Bro, you okay? You there?
Yep, yep.
What's
So,
better for you, like this or like that?
yeah, sideways is cool.
All right.
That's perfect. So, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, bro. Just busy, but yeah, doing good.
So, is Virgil gonna make a statement or what?
He sure will, bro, for sure. You be there?
Nah. I'll be covering it from my studio. But I did see what Mauricio Suleiman said. He was disappointed in you, saying that you knew better, that Virgil's making good money. I feel like every time a mandatory isn't called, Mauricio is saying that the interim champion is making good money. Do you get the impression that he feels because he gave you an interim title or put you in a position to win an interim title, you shouldn't be asking for the mandatory?
Well, look, Virgil's making good money because he has a good manager. Rick Marigan knows how to get that money. If it wasn't for Rick, having the world title, the interim title doesn't mean he's gonna be making a lot of money. He's making a lot of money because he has a great manager that knows how to pull the money from wherever it's at. He knows how to do it. That's the reason he's making good money. But at the end, I had a good talk with Eric Gomez, and then also had a really good talk with Mauricio. You know what? Mauricio's been, he actually invited me and Bam to go to Mexico City. He's invited myself, Mikey, my dad, treat us really good. So it's not like I have anything against Mauricio or the WBC. I'm just talking as the trainer of the fighter who we think is the best at 154 and still not an official world champion. Interim is, to me, I think Virgil is the best at 154, but he's still not like the real world champion, and that kind of like bugs me and bugs the team a little. So that's why I made that comment. But look, in reality, I already talked to Eric Gomez, and Eric did explain to me something that makes a lot of sense. And he told me, look, Robert, I've been talking to Mauricio, and Mauricio is actually on board to try to force the mandatory with Fundora, but the dates have just not lined up. The dates, Fundora was scheduled to fight last week or a week after, whatever, and he got injured. So now we don't even know when he's gonna fight again. It might be January, it might be February. So so do we want to wait for Fundora to heal and fight Keith Thurman and then fight him with Virgil, or do we move on? And I said, no, we move on. We're not gonna wait. Virgil can't wait 6 months or wait till next summer to be able to fight Fundora for the WBC. I think there's also big fights on at 154 that make a lot of sense, even if it's not for a real world title. Boots Ennis just fought a couple weeks ago. Virgil's gonna fight 2 weeks from now, and that's an easy fight to make. Eddie Hearn's already been talking about it. Boots is on board. Virgil, we're all on board. So that's an easier fight, and it's not for the WBC. So what Eric explained to me, and then when I talk to Suleiman, it makes a lot of sense. It's just the dates don't kind of line up. And if and they asked me, Eric actually asked me, look, Robert, if you want, we'll go for the WBC. We'll pressure the Fundora to fight for the WBC because I know Suleiman will mandate that fight, but we have to wait till next summer. I said, nah, we're not gonna do that with Virgil. We have to continue. We have to move on. So we just have to move on. And look, Virgil, even though he's just the interim champion, I personally, and I don't know what you might think, other people might think, I think he's the best 154 pounder at the moment. And that's all that means. It kind of gets me a little frustrated that he's the best and doesn't hold one of the main belts. So that's why I made that comment. But I already talked to Mauricio, and everything's good.
Speaking of Virgil and Giron, there seems to be a lot of confusion whether your side signed the contract, his side saying they signed the contract. Is that fight officially next if both fighters win, or is there a chance that Giron could still go fight the WBA full champion in Abbas Bararu?
Well, look, Virgil still has a fight coming up, so we can't have a signed contract to go fight, like at least not in our side. We're not gonna look past our opponent, and just think it's gonna be an easy fight. We still have a fight. I don't know if I think Boots agreed maybe to fight. I don't think there's a contract signed unless I don't know something that maybe Golden Boy knows, maybe even Rick Marigan knows, but I doubt it. I think they tell me everything that's going on. I know that after this fight, if that's an easy fight to make, it's a big money fight for both. They could fight for the interim for Virgil's interim title and make more money than any of the real champions are making. They're still making a lot more money than anybody else in the division. So I think that fight's still, even if it's not we don't have any of the main world title belts. I think it's still the biggest fight at 154 at the moment.
With the announcement today that Josh Kelly, the mandatory for Bakram Multazayev, has been finalized and that fight will be promoted by Matchroom, does that make you feel like maybe that's the direction Eddie and Giron will go next?
Eddie does, put some, he does good when he's pulling fights like that and doing stuff like that. I just read today, January something, that Navarrete is gonna fight the kid from Los Mochis, IBF champion. I don't know if you
Sugar
if you could help
Nunez?
me there. Sugar Nunez, yes. So Eddie's doing his job as a promoter, and he's bringing a fighter from top rank to fight on his card. I'm pretty sure he's paying him really good money too to do that. He won the purse bid with Raymond Murataya and
Andy Cruz.
Andy Cruz. So Eddie's, he's controlling it right now. He's doing stuff that other promoters are not able to do. Pull those kind of fights to his promotions. That's a huge thing Eddie's doing. So we got to respect that too, and you got to admire what he's doing. And if he's already going to promote that title fight at 154, then yes, I'm pretty sure he's securing himself for Boots to fight for a world title. If the Virgil Ortiz fight doesn't happen, I'm sure he's already looking ahead. He's already has a few steps ahead of everybody else.
Um, what do you feel that Murataya, this would be his last fight at 35? Because I know he fights for the IBF. They have the rehydration. This is not an eliminator. He's a big kid. Is this his last fight? Defend it versus Andy Cruz because it's some good money and move up, or do you see him staying after this fight?
Well, we'll decide after we go through training camp and after the fight. But there's a big possibility that this will be our last fight, and then he will go to one. He will go to 140.
Do you think he'll be more explosive, more powerful? I mean, there's always been talk about him having power. Will we see more of that at 40? Do you think he's holding himself back, kind of like Boots was at 47?
100%. I think we picked up the title, and obviously wants to have a title defense, and he's gonna push himself to make weight and to do whatever. He's always a very healthy person. Anyways, he stays in shape. He's one of those kids that's always in the gym, always eating healthy. So making weight won't be easy, but he'll make it. He'll make it. He'll make it like he did in his last fight. But yes, we are to a point where I think he will be a lot stronger at 140.
Um, is what do you think of the Antonio Morang fight with Andy Cruz? And did you look at it more like Cruz suffered adversity and showed that he's, a great fighter by getting the knockout? Or did that round show you that he might have a suspect chin? He was hurt with both hands. Moran hurt him with the left, then with the right in the same round, but somehow he still was able to stop him in that same round. So as a trainer, does that make you more excited? Like, yeah, he might have a chin and we can exploit. He might not have a chin and we can exploit it. Or damn, this kid is special. He took that shot and was able to get the knockout in the same round.
Look, Andy's a very talented fighter. He's a very talented fighter, and he's they've pushed him in the direction to make him a world champion soon. Fast like they normally do with gold medalists from Cuba. Uh, but uh, but look, we have no problem facing him. There was a chance that they were going to fight in Saudi, but there was a big misunderstanding with the purses and nothing that I really don't need to get into it because there was some changes in the money that we were told. Then a few days later, the money changed, and so it was kind of like we were kind of like questioning. Where's that money? Where's the rest of the money going? So that's why that fight didn't happen November 22nd. But now, look, looks like we're gonna get less money than we were supposed to, but that doesn't matter to us. Raymond is excited about the fight. Raymond is ready to fight. He's like, I don't care about the money. I want to fight Andy. I know I could beat him. I know I'm gonna beat him, and then we're gonna move on if we have to stay at 135 for another fight or go to 140. But he wants this fight. He says, I don't care if we're getting less this time now that they went to purse bid. I don't care. I'm gonna fight him and I'm gonna beat him. Look, we know Andy's a very talented fighter, but he's also a fighter that's never really been in there with a solid, talented fighter like Raymond, who has good power, who has great skills, and that he's Ray has been in there, with better fighters than Andy. Andy, like I said, I'm nothing away from him. He's a great fighter, and I think the fight's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great fight that the boxing fans are gonna be excited about because people want to see the best at 135 fight each other, and I think this is the start of it. I think after this, if we get another shot at unifying against somebody else, then we'll do it. But I, just focusing on this fight, I think it's a fight that would definitely we're not thinking we could lose, or else we would have already vacated and went up to 140 without even having to deal with a purse bid or anything. We would have already announced, you know what, we don't want to deal with 135. We're going to 140. Raymond's gonna fight Andy, and he's gonna do whatever it takes to beat him.
Does Is this the fight you think that Raymond shows who he is? I mean, I've been hearing that Murataya is just as good as, Shakur and some of these other big names for a while here in the Vegas gyms. Do you think this fight he gets to show that, and it's his, I guess, coming out party?
Because of the styles, I might not think. I might think it's not the fight that shows Raymond's best skills because Andy's also talented. He's also a smart fighter in the ring. So I think it's gonna be a challenging fight. I can't. I don't want to say this is the performance that's gonna put Raymond on everybody's top, lightweight or pound for pound list because of the styles. But I think when Raymond will show that is when he performs at 140 against the best at 140. Styles are perfect, and I think at 140 he's got the style to look good against anybody at the top of the 140 division. Andy, like I said, he's a very talented fighter. He's a very smart fighter. He's a great smart counterpuncher also. So it's going to be more of a challenge fight, a kind of like a chess match. I think Raymond's got the speed and the power to land and hurt, and I think that's what we're going to train for. But it's still going to be challenging. So I think his best performance is still to come at 140.
I got James Valdez in San Antonio, Texas. It says, you frequently visit San Antonio. What are some of the highlights when you visit my hometown? Just wondering.
I love San Antonio, man. San Antonio is probably uh, my second best city from obviously anything in California. I love it over here in California, but San Antonio is a great city. I love the Riverwalk. I love the shopping areas. It's beautiful, man. The people. man, there's always something going on in San Antonio, from concerts to rodeos to just events. I just love it over there, man. It's a beautiful city.
Huang out of Houston says, "Do you see Boots versus Crawford boxing's next super fight, and what weight do you see it happening at?"
I really don't see that happening. I think Crawford is going to maybe do the rematch if Canelo wants the rematch, and or fight at 160 and become a six division champion. Maybe go for undisputed at 160 to become the the only one ever, and make history. I don't think he needs to take those challenges against young talented fighters where he doesn't have to prove anything to nobody. He already showed it by becoming undisputed at super middleweight and beating Canelo. He already showed that he's one of the best in history. There's no need for him to try to prove against anybody else. I'm not saying Boots beats him, but there is that chance. You never know. Crawford is a smart man too, and he's also a 38-year-old that knows that maybe he doesn't have that much left in boxing, and he already did what he could retire right now and already be remembered as one of the best of all times.
Do you think there's a bigger fight for Crawford other than Boots out there right now?
I do believe the rematch against Canelo will still be big. I think if
Well,
Canelo
not named
if
Canelo, not named Canelo. Obviously,
okay,
that's
well,
huge.
yeah, besides that, why would he, even like I said, even if he wants to be a six division champion at 160, there's no big name there that'll be a huge fight. Yeah, you got Carlos Adames, who's fucking strong and very dangerous. Yes, you also have Johnny Beck, who's also very dangerous and very big fighter. So does if I think that's if he wants to take a risk and challenge maybe one of those guys to become a six division champion. But besides that, he doesn't have to, man. He already accomplished everything. He's a very smart man. He's a businessman. He owns a lot of homes. He's not one of those guys that's out there spending his money or going crazy with money. He lives a normal life, and he takes care of his family. He loves his kids. His people around him. So
But
I don't
Robert,
see him.
can't we say the
I don't
same
see
for
him doing that.
Canelo though? Can't we say the same for Canelo and he still gave Crawford an opportunity?
Yeah, but Canelo, look, Canelo is that one that does, well, at least in my eyes, what I've said and what I think, Canelo's making hundreds of millions of dollars, and he wants to. I think he's got in mind maybe to become a billionaire if he already, or the richest person in Mexico. He's got something like he's got goals like that. Not because that's just he wants to be not just because of boxing business. He owns gas stations, he owns stores, so I think he's got that in mind to become the richest person in Mexico, maybe just because of his pride, but because when it comes to the fight, I didn't think he was too ready for that fight with a game plan. With even his trainer wasn't. I don't think they had a plan B just in case. They should have. I think they're already too comfortable and just making a lot of fucking money. I think that's what Canelo's doing, just making a lot of money. He didn't seem too upset about the loss. He took the loss like, right after the fight. He's like, I just want to tell everybody that I'm proud of just being here, and I'm happy for what I've accomplished. He's just happy that he's making hundreds of millions of dollars every time he fights.
I got Bones 13, Fort Worth, Texas. What's up, Robert? I want to congratulate you first and foremost for doing a great job with all your boxers. I heard that you were making a gym in Dallas, Texas. Just wanted to get an update
That
on
is
that.
that
Thanks,
is the
coach.
that is a plan. It's a plan. Obviously we're so busy with so many fights that are going on right now. We just have too many fighters and all these big fights before the end of the year that we have. And look, and right away before I'm already thinking of, oh, let's take the holidays off. Let's do vacations. I already have two January dates that I'm not gonna be able to to take the vacations that I've been planning for like 10 years, because I always have fights in early in the year. So we already know that we have a couple big fights in January. So that, that just makes it a little bit harder to start making those plans. But yes, we did uh uh think about it. We're still thinking about it. We still haven't moved ahead, to try to find a place or anything. But there is a plan to go to Texas, and the plan was Dallas.
So these gyms that you do, is it just whoever wants to partner with you? Do you have to have some sort of I don't know, love for the city and state? Are you just selling a franchise? How's
No,
this
I'm
work?
not. No, no, no. I'm not selling a franchise or anything like that. I have a partner here in California that is a businessman. He's a very smart businessman, and we want to go to cities where obviously where we already have five. Like Dallas is perfect because obviously we have Virgil. We have a great team there that could take care of the gym and run the gym and stuff like that, and obviously bring kids out of the streets. I'm also starting a nonprofit organization where I want everything to be funded by a nonprofit, and it's we're thinking about doing something in Oxnard where I grew up, where we have a place in Hawaiian Gardens, where Abner Mares is from, that we're already looking into. So we just want to do it, where we obviously work it out with the cities, with the mayors, with everybody involved, just like I did here in Moreno Valley. The city is a big part of the gym. We have 200 plus kids every day that are not in the streets, that are not, that we that's the main goal, and that's the reason I want to do it, because boxing has saved a lot of kids, a lot of people. They don't have to be world champions to say boxing saved me. I think I have a lot of friends that if it wasn't boxing, they'd be dead, or on drugs, or alcoholics, or just not doing good. Boxing is a sport that saves a lot of people, a lot of kids.
And let me get to the next one here. We got what's up, Robert? Who do you think wins the Haney Norman Jr. fight? That's a good question. You had Stantiliang, so
Look, it's fuck. It's hard, man. It's tough. I think Haney is a great boxer. I think he's gonna box and try to win a decision. Uh, you know, uh, Man, it's a tough one, because if he tries to exchange punches, I think he'll get hurt. I think he'll get hurt. Norman is a very powerful guy, man. You could hear his punches. You could hear how hard he hits and how strong he is. So if Haney tries to prove something or tries to exchange, he'll be in trouble. But I truly believe that Haney's is smart enough to not take a chance and try to win by decision. If I have to bet, I bet that Haney wins by decision.
oh wow. What do you think about his feet? There's been a lot made that Norman either has slow feet. He's been showing a lot of jump rope and athleticism. How athletic do you think he is? And does he have slow feet? Is that just crazy?
Look, I think Norman is training to fight speed on his footwork, to cut the ring fast, and if he does, and if he's able to cut the ring with against Haney, then fuck, he hits hard, he lands, he's gonna hurt Haney. I don't think Haney likes to get hit. I don't think Haney could take those punches if Norman puts him in the position to land, and I don't think Haney takes it. But I don't know. I just like Haney's boxing skills. He's gonna box and try to win round by round till it goes to the distance. That's my pick. It's tough. That's a really tough one, man. It's like a 50-50 fight, but I still have to lean towards Haney winning by decision.
Talk Trend says, why isn't an accomplished fighter like Bam Rodriguez not recognized by casuals or more popular than he is?
I think when it comes to Bam, maybe because of the weight division, in boxing, everybody knows and everybody has Bam as one of the top five pound for pound fighters in the world. But I think when it comes to just casual people, it's the weight division. They don't get a lot of publicity. once you're welterweight to super heavyweight, that's where all the publicity comes, and everybody talks about those weight divisions. I think being a 115 pounder is a very big disadvantage for Bam when it comes to popularity, because when it comes to skills, I don't think nobody has the skills that Bam has, including the top, pound for pound guys that we have right now, because of the wins that they've had, not because they're more skilled than Bam. I think Bam is the most skilled fighter in the world right now.
Why do you think he's never called out Inoue? I mean, isn't that his super fight? And do you think there's a bigger fight than Inoue for Bam out there?
Dude, you just seen Crawford do that, and now you want Bam to do that too? Jump up two
I've
divisions?
been
You
wanted
fucking
Bam to
crazy or
do that
what?
when he jumped up the first time. He jumped up before
Bam did,
Crawford.
yeah. Look, we we will fight in Nui. I know we are. We are gonna fight in Nui. But Bam is a small kid. He's growing. He's only 25. Don't forget. So I said no more than 2 years from now he will be fighting Inui. Inui's at 122. Bam has some business to take care of 115. He wants to become undisputed because he's 2 fights away. If he beats Puma, then the next fight should be for undisputed. And if not, he's going to 118 right after that. So a couple fights at 118, which is a year, and then he's going to go to 122. So the fight is going to happen sooner than later. I think the fight will happen, but I can't. I don't think it's a good idea, me personally, because Inui is a fucking monster. But Bam would be crazy enough, because look, this fight on the 22nd, it wasn't even going to be against Puma Martinez. It was already going to be against Junto Nakatani. The fight was already negotiated. We had already agreed, and the fight was done. It was Junto that decided to move up to 122 because of Mr. Honda. Also, I can't say it was Junto not wanting to fight Bam, because Junto. I know his trainer Rudy. We have lunch at least once a month, and they'll fight. But Mr. Honda advised him to move up to 122, and that's what he did. But the fight was going to happen against Junto, so Bam was already going to fight at 118, November 22nd. So Bam is up. You know, I think it only takes Mr. Honda or whoever, Turkey, to tell Bam after this fight against Puma, okay, I want you to move to 122, pay you so much money to fight Inui, and Bam will do it. That's all it's gonna take. Because nobody's ever brought it up to us. Nobody's ever told us, here's an offer, move up 2 divisions, and you'll fight Inui. A few months ago, they told us, move up to 118 to fight Junto, and Bam never said no. Bam said, yeah, let's do it. We agreed, and then things changed, obviously. But I think if there is an offer, Bam will do it.
I got Dre Day that says, salute, Robert. Thanks for joining the show. If you were Terrence Bud Crawford, what would be your next move in your career?
Retire, enjoy life, enjoy my kids. But I already wanted to do that, I don't know, a little over a year ago, when I talked to him. He mentioned, that's all I want. If I don't get it, I'm gonna retire. I know how good Bud is. He's doing, financially already, so he doesn't need to do anything else. Just retire, enjoy life. He was already planning on retiring if he didn't get the Canelo fight, anyways. So now that he beat Canelo and beat him so easy, he could just retire, enjoy, and be one of the best of all times. But if he still has a little bit left in him, and he's got a little something else to prove, which he does, I don't think he has to. Maybe his sixth title, hit 6 divisions at 160. But besides that, he doesn't have to, man. I would just retire and enjoy life. I know he's a businessman. He owns a lot of homes. He owns properties. I know he's a very smart man. He saved his money, and enjoy life, man, because life is short.
I got Mikhail B, amateur fighter. He says, hey, coach, what's your advice to an amateur about to turn pro? What things would you encourage your athletes to focus on early in their pro career? Thanks, coach.
Look, obviously you have to have discipline and the sport, because you have to love the sport to a point where you're disciplined. You know, you're not like everybody else. You have to eat healthy year round. You have to stay disciplined. You can't go out with the friends on the weekends like they normally like to go. You can't spend time with girlfriends, or for so long. You gotta just, it takes a lot, but it's just you have to change your lifestyle. And I'm not saying that that kid doesn't. Hopefully he does. But also, one thing that I always tell, especially young kids: stay in school even after you graduate high school. College right now is so easy with online classes. Read books, read a lot. Your memory, you have to have your mind working all the time, because boxing is fucking tough. And how many fighters, former world champions, former millionaires, end up broke after their careers? A big percentage. So always have something else to fall behind, because boxing is not for everybody, man. You could be the most talented fighter in the world, but something goes wrong and there goes your career, and you never went to school, you never did anything. You got to stay in school. You got to have something to fall back on, because boxing is not, it's not for everybody. It's a dangerous sport.
Is that a general statement? Because obviously the world is so big, but like your own personal experiences, how many of Robert Garcia fighters didn't make it? I mean, I feel like all your fighters made it.
Look, I no, 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 no. Look, I've had, I've worked with a lot of world champions, but I count the ones that I've made world champions, and that's 17. Not the ones like Mikey, who was a 5 division champion, and Nonito, who was also a 4 division champion. When they just count as one. So I've made 17 world champions, but I've worked with hundreds of fighters, so not everybody makes it. So look, I always tell every single one of my fighters, take your college classes, stay in school. Don't think boxing is gonna be your whole life, because very few are the ones that make it. And once they make it, like right now, Virgil, who's making really good money, Bam, who's making really good money, Raymond, who is starting to make good money, Jose Ramirez, who is still does, our first advice right away is take care of your money, invest, buy properties. Virgil's is starting to do that. Bam has already started to do that. Jose is very smart when it comes to taking care of his money. Brandon Rios, who everybody thought was going to be the crazy kid and the troublemaker, he bought his properties, and he's doing. But even then, they all still have to work. Mikey's very smart when it came to his money, but he's still working. He's still buying properties. He's still work fixing houses up. Brandon has a job. Nonito has to do stuff, that requires work. Jose, it's just the way life is. You guys, they think boxing is gonna be everywhere. They could retire and enjoy, sit down in the couch and enjoy life. It doesn't happen like that. It does not happen like that.
I got Weedy that says, "Hello, Robert. Weedy from Orlando. How do you see the Devin Haney Norman fight, and how do you feel about Senior as a coach?" So I guess just answer the second part because you already answered the first part. How do you feel about Brian Norman Senior as a trainer?
Look, I think I would. What I would love to see is Brian Norman be able to cut the ring and land some punches and win by a spectacular knockout. But I see Haney boxing really well, and Haney by decision. I already told you guys, man, Haney by decision. But it's gonna be exciting to watch. I'm gonna be there. We're gonna be there, so I'm gonna be able to enjoy the fight live. Because I am excited about that fight. I want to see what kind of boxing Haney does, because of obviously the performance against Ryan wasn't, took a beating there, and then against Jose, it was kind of embarrassing, an embarrassing performance. The way he moved, the way he boxed, the way he ran. I think he's going to try to do a little bit better this time. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait.
Damn, you got embarrassing, huh? I thought what happened to a win is a win is a win.
Yeah, well, when they guarantee you. $10 million. You got to win this one. Then if you win this one, your next one's gonna be for 20. Well, fuck. I'm gonna tell my fighter run, run, run. Just get that win, and that's what he did. That's what he did. So he got the win, which shit, he's not gonna get that $20 million payday because obviously it didn't look too good, and Ryan and Ryan also lost. So that didn't happen. But yeah, it was kind of it was, bro. Come on, it was. I'll admit it. Even if it's one of my fighters that fights like that, I'll say it was. Man, that was kind of embarrassing.
Why do you think
Well, look,
Ryan?
well, look. Let me be. I'm not saying it would have happened because Jose loves to fight. Jose's a fucking fighter, but I think it would have been a better fight if Haney would have tried to fight a little bit more. I think it would have been a better fight, and maybe he would have still won. You know what I mean. I'm not saying it would have been better. It would have been. We would have had a better chance because I know Jose is very strong, and that's the way Jose fights. But it would have been a better fight, and people would have appreciated that a little bit more.
Um, Man, I had that question. It'll come back to me. I got 610 Nas. How do you feel about your fighters working with other trainers? If Giron was to fight Bud, who are the two, three people he should spar to get ready? Thanks for your time.
Look, when it comes to sparring and it's hard to find the perfect sparring for whenever you're gonna have a fight and find somebody that's gonna help you to a perfection. It's impossible. Look, we're closing camp with Virgil, and we had a couple southpaws, but a lot of his rounds were against right-handers too. We just want Virgil or my fighters, we want our fighters to be in great shape and follow the game plan. It doesn't matter if one day there's no lefties to spar Virgil. He's gonna spar right-handers, and he's still gonna do his work, and he's still gonna do what we're asking for. That's what I do. Look. Bam Rodriguez fought Rungvisai. He's a lefty, and the whole camp he sparred Ronnie Rios, who's a tough right-hander. And look at his performance. So I think as long as the fighter knows what he needs to do and the game plan needs to follow the game plan, he'll perform. With Boots and Crawford. You're not gonna find somebody, or you're not gonna find the perfect sparring partner. And then when it comes to when the bell rings, you're against Crawford. Crawford's never faced you. You've never faced Crawford, so it's a total fucking different story than trying to imitate Crawford against Canelo. It's just I just like to have my fighters very well prepared, and they listen. If they listen and they're prepared to go all 12 rounds and follow the game plan, then they'll perform well.
Going back to that Crawford Canelo, we seen Canelo's wife post a picture of him with a cast and a sling and tubes going into it. Is that just like a pre-made excuse, or you think he had an injury, got injured, and that had to do with his performance?
Well, I don't think that's necessary for them to post stuff like that because he got beat. So it kind of makes it seem like they're trying to find an excuse. Canelo got beat. He got outboxed. He got outskilled. Crawford was just much better. I think just like after the fight, he accepted the loss. Just come back stronger. I think Canelo still has fights left, but I think he got too comfortable already, making all the money and with his trainer also. I say it because it happened to me a few years back with Brandon Rios. Brandon became my friend. We used to hang out together. We used to drink a few beers together. To a point where the respect wasn't as good anymore, and to a point where training camps didn't go that well anymore. I think Canelo and Eddie Reynoso, they're 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 so close to each other that they're, I don't know how many years in difference, but I don't think there's that many years that separates in age from each other. So they're they've known each other for almost 20 years, and they've become really good friends. I think they're a point where they're to a point where they're just compas, they're brothers, and maybe fuck that, I don't want to do that today, or let's do something else, because that happened to me with Brandon. So I think Canelo adding somebody else, a new voice, something different to camp would probably benefit him, and would be interesting to see something different in Canelo.
Did you ever get a call from Ryan and his team? And why do you think you haven't been able to train Ryan? It seems like you would be the right fit.
Ryan who?
Garcia.
Oh, Ryan Garcia. I would love to. Look, he's local. He knows he's been to my gym to spar. But I think with Ryan, because I know he's you know, he's had, he was fighting for Golden Boy, and he always had a little bit of rivalry when they were both starting with some of my fighters like Hector Tanajara, who obviously is already retired and never really became a champion or anything. But there was always that kind of like that difference, that like rivalry. And he fought Raymond Murataya also like four times in the amateurs. And from what I understand, Raymond beat him all four times. So kind of, I think that could be maybe the reason, because I would, man, shit, he's local, he's Mexican American. I like him. I've never had anything against him. His parents are great people through the amateurs. I've known him so for many years. So shit, I would love that challenge too. But no, I've never received that approach. That they've never approached me to see if I would be interested. I would. I think he's so talented, but I think he needs somebody strict to lead his career. And look, he doesn't have to come and spar Raymond if that's what he does. If that's why he doesn't want to come into my gym, he doesn't have to spar Raymond. There's a lot of fighters that hate sparring Raymond, and I don't put them against Raymond, but they're still in my gym. But they don't spar Raymond because I know they hate sparring Raymond.
Mm.
I know because they know they're gonna get their ass kicked, and they don't spar Raymond. They never have, or if they have, only once, and I never do it again.
I got major
I wouldn't mind.
media. Oops, sorry. Go ahead. You wouldn't mind?
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind having Ryan in my gym. I would love to.
I got major media, and he says, what age do you think is too old to box professionally? And who do you think wins now between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao?
Professionally, look, anybody could have a professional fight. I have a 33-year old that wants to turn pro, and I'm gonna give him that opportunity just because he wants to feel what it takes to turn pro. And I'm gonna find the right opponent and everything for him to fight, just so he could have that feel of I turn pro one day. Not because I recommend him. Oh yeah, you could become a world champion at that age. Might be too late, but there's also young fighters that could be turning pro at 22, 23, and still have a great chance. Most of these Eastern European guys turn pro at 26, 27, 28, and they become great fighters. So look, as long as you're ready, you're in shape, and you're dedicated, I don't think there's a moment where it's too late. I think everybody has a chance.
I got Big Balls from Florida. He says, not to jump anything or disrespect anyone, but after Bam defeats Puma, if Taraji wins, that IBF would you guys be open to potentially fighting for undisputed in Japan? If not, in Texas, Arizona, regardless.
That's what Bam wants. He Now that he's so close to undisputed, he wants that last fight for undisputed. Doesn't matter where. I know Bam would love to fight in Japan because he goes to Japan after every one of his fights. He loves Tokyo. He spends a couple weeks over there after every one of his fights. So I'm pretty sure he would love to fight in Japan. But look, we have to obviously take care of Puma first. But yes, undisputed is what Bam would want to do after.
Cool. We got El Consejero from Washington State. Appreciate your time on the show. Do you believe having mental health professional on your team being beneficial to your fighters?
Having what? Like
A mental,
somebody.
yeah, mental health professional, would that be beneficial to your fighters?
Look, if you're in Southern California and you're in a boxing gym and you have somebody that works with mental health issues, everybody's gonna call that gym a. Nobody's gonna be okay with that because everybody thinks that, oh, nothing but weak people. That's the mentality Mexicans here in Southern California. But you know, I do have a psychologist that comes in, talks to my fighters whenever they're needed. We have Dr. Charles Tremley, who's my conditioning coach, and talks to my fighters. Every Tuesday, puts them all in a group. They ask questions, because it is very important because boxing is, man, boxers are taking punches in their head, and sometimes the fights are the easiest things. Sparring is tough. Especially in gyms where you have nothing but killers. They all want to be the best in the gym, so a lot of fighters need help, need somebody, a professional, to talk to them. And sometimes, a lot of fighters feel it's embarrassing. Oh, I'm talking to a psychologist. Oh, I'm talking to a doctor. They feel embarrassed or thinking, oh, people are gonna think that you're crazy. People think that you're already, damaged. They're gonna think that, but nah, it's important because at the end, fuck, man, boxing, man, just here in Southern California, there's so many former champions, former world champions, former fighters that, man, it's tough to even have a conversation with them.
Uh, Next one is from Tu Padre. Yo, Robert, fan of your stable of fighters. I saw somewhere Bam wants to retire before 30. Do you believe we will see Bam fight anyway before he hangs up the gloves?
Bam is 25, and yes, he wants to retire at 30. That's the promise he did to his dad, and I think he will keep it. So we got a little over 4 years left of Bam. He will fight Inoue. I think the Inoue fight should be coming in. I would say a year and a half to 2 years, unless, like I told you earlier, I never heard it, but unless somebody calls and says, is he crazy enough to jump two divisions to fight Inui like he did when he fought Cuadras? I think he is crazy enough to do it. So, we'll see.
K Blicky, would Virgil consider a fight with Jermell Charlo when he comes back?
Well, I think all those names are huge names for Virgil at 154. He Virgil wants to fight anybody. He wants to fight everybody, the best of the division. He's not afraid of nobody. Virgil is not afraid of nobody, so he'll fight anybody. That's just a matter of working it out. Golden Boy, PBC, Rick Marigan and Louis de Cubas, whoever manages all those fighters, that are with PBC. It's just a matter of making it happen. Virgil will fight anybody. He's the type of fighter just like Bam. They want the best out there. They want the best in the division. They're not picking, oh, I need an easy fight, my next fight, because I already had a hard one. They want the best out there. So both are willing to fight anybody. So Virgil will fight anybody at 154.
We got Kentrell in the UK says, you have been one of my favorite trainers since Maidana Mayweather. Much love from the UK. So no question, just love.
Thanks. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Ese Morro from Reading, Pennsylvania. What's up, coach? How soon can we see Chop Gonzalez back in the ring after that win a couple of weeks ago? Can we see him fight this year again? Would love to see him fight for a belt soon. Take care.
You know what? Chop was scheduled. We had him scheduled to fight again in December before the end of the year, but through a conversation with Top Rank and Chop himself, we decided January is gonna be his next date, his next fight, which is not bad for him. He had a solid 5 rounds, and he works very hard when it comes to training. He's just like Bam, just like Virgil. That kid is unbelievable, dedicated, and he does train hard, so he does need a couple weeks after his fights to recover, and that's why we decided January is the best option. So he will be back in January. And yes, I think 2 3 fights from now, which might be closer to summer, end of the year next year, he'll be ready for any of the top 126 pounders.
All right. Next one is from Nathan. He says, "Is there a realistic time frame for Bam to fight the winner of Inoue versus Nakatani?"
Like I said, if if somebody makes that call and tells me like they did when they offered the Junto Nakatani fight, if they say, look, Inui just beat Nakatani, will Bam jump up 2 divisions? I think Bam is willing to do it. He's that, he believes in himself that much, and I believe in him too. And I will support him, and I will train him to do it because I know the way Bam is. He will go out there and perform. So yes, as soon as that fight's over next May, and if that's the next fight, we'll probably have 2 fights by then. So we're fine with that. We'll go up there and fight him.
Only two more, Robert. Birdman Jr. says from Dallas, "What's up, Robert? Would you consider training Diego Pacheco, and has he given you a call now that he's not with Jose Benavidez Sr.?"
I have not received a call from Diego Pacheco. I know Diego Pacheco. I know a lot of people around him. A lot of friends of him that have told me that he doesn't have a manager or a trainer. Well, he does have a trainer now that they're in LA, which is also a friend of mine. So no, I'm not gonna reach out to him, and no, he has not reached out to me. But Diego's a very talented kid. He's bright future. He's doing great. Matchroom is doing a great job with him. So I respect. I also respect that that he came to LA and already has a trainer too. So I'm not gonna jump in somebody's way to try to take somebody from them. I already have too much work. I already have too many fighters. But I do have all day also. So I do. I'm not like, it's not like I don't have time. But no, I haven't reached out to him. He has not reached out to me, and I'm not planning on doing that either.
I got Dwayne in VA. Saludos, Coach Garcia. Congrats on everything. Where did that false Bam Rodriguez rumor come from? The one where he didn't want to go to Mexico, to the Mexican parade, although he is of Mexican descent. Blessings.
That's not true. That was a fake reporter from Mexico because Bam, after he beat Kafu, Bam became the unified champion, and he picked up the WBO. A lot of people don't know that after you beat the champion, you have to return that belt. You have to give him that belt back. So then obviously the organization sends you a belt or invites you to their offices wherever they're at to give you the new belt. So that's what we did with the WBO. But it was at the same time with Sandro Sayas, who also became champion a week after, if I'm not mistaken. So they did a celebration for both together. There was no mariachi, there was no Mexican celebration, and there was no way Bam said no, I do not want the Mexican celebration. That's somebody just made that up and made it look like Bam was disrespecting and not wanting to be representing Mexico. Bam has used the Mexican colors, the green, white, and red, in a lot of his fights. He's proud of being Mexican American. But look, the kid is from Texas, and if you know people from Texas, they're very, very proud Texans. Every single one of them, they're very proud Texans, and he has the Mexican blood in him because his parents, his grandparents, all have Mexican blood. But he feels he's very proud to be from the United States and Texans especially. But he never did that where they said he didn't want no Mexican celebration. That's just a made up story from a Mexican reporter that just try to make us look bad, I guess.
Last one slid in, said, "What's up, Coach? Which one of these 147 pounders you believe will make a splash at 54 soon? Mario Barrios, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Brian Norman, Rolly Romero. So again,
Man,
47-pound is making a splash at 54.
I think for every single one of them, it's gonna be fucking hard at 154.
Mm.
Especially with what we have right now at 154, it's gonna be tough. I think they wait a year or so. Maybe all these guys are at 160. Then they could go to 154. Because right now, I think 154 is tough for any of those 147 pounders they just mentioned. I think they. My advice is stay at 147 for a little bit longer.
Well, Coach, that is all the questions. I appreciate you as always, man. Good luck this November 8th, Saturday, with the Virgil and Lubin fight.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. I know you're busy, man. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a
All
good
right.
one.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Robert Garcia. We finally were able to get him on the show.